President Donald Trump promising fire and fury against North Korea if they continue to escalate rhetoric against the United States. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson trying to reassure the American people, telling them amid these rising tensions, they should feel free to rest easy at night. Joining us this morning to weigh in is Congressman Adam Smith, the ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
So fire and fury. Is it time to bring fire and fury to North Korea?
No, certainly not. I mean, we've been dealing with this problem for a long time. It's a huge problem. North Korea is determined to expand their military capabilities, nuclear and ballistic missiles, as far as they can. And we've sanctioned them, we've negotiated with them, we've done a whole bunch of different things. There's no way to stop them from doing that. And I don't want us to stumble into a war. It is not worth going to war to stop North Korea. For one thing, they already have nuclear weapons. They already have ballistic missiles. So going to war to stop something that's already happened, I think, would be highly unwise. We nearly, as I've said many times on the show, we need a credible deterrent. We need to make sure that they never feel like they can use those weapons without facing an overwhelming response. But we must not stumble into a conflict over words.
Can we risk calling their bluff on this? Let's say that the United States does nothing and it tries to rely on the new sanctions against North Korea. It continues to try to do this through diplomatic and political means, and they shoot a missile at Guam or they shoot a missile at Japan or South Korea, and we did nothing in advance of that. Can we afford to call their bluff?
I think we can afford to say that we are going to respond to any aggressive action. Where I think the mistake is to imply that we're going to respond to them building their weapons. Yes, if they fire a missile at Japan, if they start a war with South Korea, we have to make it clear that we will stand by both of those allies. And look, from a military standpoint, if North Korea does that, it's suicide. Our military, South Korea, Japan, we have the ability to completely destroy their regime. And we have to make sure that that deterrent is credible. But again, to go to war to stop them from developing capabilities that they apparently already have, I don't think would be wise, and I think would cause, I know would cause an enormous amount of death and carnage and danger. So the credible deterrent route, I guess I agree more with the Secretary of State's approach than I do with the President's approach.
Well, the Secretary of State, he talked about these comments the President made, which I know that they are pretty remarkable statements coming from an American president, but this is a remarkable situation. He said fire and fury unlike the world has ever seen. The Secretary of State said that the President used that language because Kim Jong-un doesn't listen to diplomatic language, that he needed some language that was more in line with the language that he uses. So in that sense, do you think that the President's tone was appropriate?
Well, I think it's appropriate if you're talking about deterring them from aggressive action against us or their neighbors. I don't think it's appropriate if you're talking about this is what we're going to do if you just keep building the missiles, which, again, they already have nuclear capability. They already have ballistic missile capability. So, to threaten them and say that we're going to attack them if they continue to do what they've been doing for better than a decade, I hope we don't, because, again, I don't think it's in our best interest. And I think the rhetoric runs the risk of stumbling into a conflict that would be devastating. So I hope we can tone down the rhetoric and make it clear that, okay, North Korea has ignored everything we've tried to do to stop them from building these weapons. But understand, if they make any attempt to use them, it's regime suicide. That's the credible deterrent we need to present.
Congressman, you got 10 seconds to answer this question. There are people in the United States on the mainland who are concerned about this, understandably. There's been a lot made this week about North Korea's capabilities when it comes to their intercontinental ballistic missile. Should people in the United States mainland be concerned? 5 seconds.
Well, yes, it's worthy of concern. I agree with the Secretary of State. I don't think this rises to the level of an imminent threat, and I think there are plenty of ways to diffuse this situation and make sure that it doesn't wind up in an armed conflict that threatens any of us. That's the path we must choose.
All right, Congressman Adam Smith of Washington, back home now. As you guys are on a little break, we appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks for the chance.
Yeah. So there you have it. And look, I think that, there's two sides to this when we talk about the president's comments is, diplomatic approaches with North Korea haven't worked, right? I think we can all agree when it comes to trying to prevent them from increasing this rhetoric, from developing missiles. And so the Secretary of State saying what the president was trying to do is use language that Kim Jong-un might respond to a little better. But there's concerns on both sides that plays into Kim Jong-un's hands, and it only serves to escalate the situation.
Well, if nothing else, it definitely got his attention. We know that.
I would imagine that it got his attention, but we got to be careful that while getting his attention, it's not playing into the narrative that he's trying to build for his own people, which is the United States is going to attack us, and I am the only one who can protect you from it.
And listen, I mean, the entire world has the same message. Let's calm this down, like about 15 notches right now. All right, Brandi, thank you.